Michael Jackson would be proud of this movie to a point, and here's why. What up? VSD here coming at you live, and I just saw the Michael Jackson biopic, and thank God no one got up and danced in my theater. But let's see if it's truly worth 5 stars. Why? The Michael movie is based on the life of Michael Jackson with his family. A lot of people from the family were executive producers for this film, like Michael's son Prince, and Michael's siblings LaToya, Jackie, Marlon, Jermaine, and the late Tito Jackson. The movie was billed as a family film to last the ages, but focuses on 2 main storylines, one being the late Michael Jackson and the other his father, the late Joseph Jackson, as an antagonist. This wasn't, however, the first movie to do such a thing. In 1992, there was a 2-part TV special called The Jacksons: An American Dream, which showcased more of the parents of the Jackson family, being Joseph and Catherine Jackson, and how they met and lived in Gary, Indiana, leading to the birth of their children and the rise in stardom of the Jackson 5, the Jacksons, and Michael Jackson as a solo artist. Michael Jackson had a lot of creative input and final say into the American Dream special, where Jermaine was one of the producers of that series, so you can expect a lot of accuracy and less of Hollywood sprinkles if you look into the drafting of this tale versus the biopic. However, although Michael was not alive to provide input on the movie based on his life, and although his brothers and sisters present at the time were involved in the making of the film, I would have to give it a solid star, but will be taking it with a grain of salt. It's noted that Michael's sons, Prince and Biggie, were at the premiere, but Michael's daughter Paris and his sister Janet and Ribby were not. To note, Janet, Miss Jackson if you're nasty, declined to be portrayed in this movie, and Paris had no involvement in the film and raised concerns about inaccuracies in what she felt were dishonest representations in the earlier script. Human nature. The movie was shot stupendously, where certain scenes were the exact locations of music videos shot by Michael from the past. It's like they had 2 styles, one being cinematic and the other a stage performance at a concert where they blended them together at certain moments. Their musical choices was actually really interesting. As the story progresses, whatever songs were published around that time by the Jackson 5, the Jacksons, or Michael himself were used in the background to help tell that part of the story as it progresses further in time. So, you had performance and studio recording scenes of music as the main piece of the plot, and then you had background music that helped lead the plot to the next phase of the story, as would a stage musical would. For this element, I have to give it a solid star. Why? Oh! I have no problem with the casting for this movie. I believe that Giuliano Cruvaldi did an excellent job playing a young Michael the same way Jason Weaver did for the American Dream TV special in the 90s. And of course, Jafar Jackson nailed his portrayal of his uncle in not just appearance, but speaking tone and vocals. So I have to give it a solid star, especially since Jafar and the writers were able to display insight into Michael's business mind in the corporate sphere. I like that. Now let's look at the story as a whole. Leave me alone, girl. Spoiler alert. Young Michael is seen looking outside his home in Gary, Indiana, looking at all the kids play right before beginning rehearsal with his brothers, led by his father, Joseph Jackson. They participate in several gigs and have a heavy workload balancing school, as well as Joseph balancing his current job in the steel mill for US Steel. At one of his shows, a representative from Motown is watching the Jackson 5 perform, and she gives Joseph her card. The Jackson 5 are a success, and Joseph was able to get his wife and kids out of Gary, Indiana, out of the ghetto, where they are now able to live the rich life. And as they grow in fame, Michael aims to become a solo artist, but Joseph won't allow him to do it 100% fully. Joe allows Michael to do his solo work in the evenings and at night, but the rest of his time has to be concentrated on the group and family. Seems to work. The Jackson 5 increase their success as Michael's success skyrockets as he seeks a way to separate himself from Joseph. Michael goes through several changes in his musical styles, followed by cosmetic surgery to his nose, which was shown as the byproduct of Joseph making fun of his big nose, and young Michael constantly viewing his Peter Pan children's book looking at Peter's nose and appearance. Or at least that's what the camera showed. Thanks to his newly hired attorney, John Branca manages to fire Joseph via fax to help Michael become an exclusively solo artist. Bronca helped Michael build upon his ideas with songs and projects like Thriller and Beat It. Despite him living under the same roof as Joseph, Michael manages to have a successful career until one fateful evening when Joseph has a meeting with Don King to help plan and finance the Victory Tour, on the occasion that Michael is part of it and its promotions. Joseph goes Michael into doing the tour, and Michael does so only because he wants to help his family. During the Pepsi ad commercial, special effects get out of control, and a spark lands on the back of Michael's head, causing him to get third-degree burns as he is rushed to the ER, needing surgery. Damn. That's going to be the low point in every film. As Michael's healing, he visits the sick children and discovers more of his why for helping others and children in need of assistance. During the Victory Tour concert, Michael announces to everyone that this is their final tour, boom, 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 together, which catches Joseph off guard as the performance continues. Michael walks off stage, ignoring Joseph, where we are now taken to his Bad tour, where he performs his song Bad in front of thousands, maybe a few millions of people, free to express his art the way that he wants. You better beat it, yeah. The emotional story of this movie is centered on Michael's desire to live his dream while having his family by his side as he suffers from self-image issues as well as the diseases vitiligo and lupus over time. The self-image issues centered on his nose, in accordance with the movie, was linked to his father teasing him about his nose, which caused Michael to seek cosmetic surgery later on in the movie. Well, later on in his life. As he faced vitiligo, he would use treatments and makeup applications on his hand and would perform wearing his iconic single glove to mask the pigment issues on his skin. In the end, Michael showed that it is possible to live your dreams even though not everyone will be happy with the decisions you make, be it friends or family. Just don't be afraid to give it everything you got. As Michael once said, study the greats and become greater. I have to give this movie 5 stars, and here's why. Fundamentally, the movie captures the progressive life of Michael in a simplistic way, which was the through line of Michael becoming a solo artist while going through diverse trials both externally and internally. Despite Hollywood sprinkling, the only people who will know what truly happened are the people present at the time. The most accurate depiction of Michael's life, in my opinion, would be the American Dream TV special, and you would have to watch both together in order to find what really happened versus what was dramatized for the screen. Since Michael was alive to have a say in the TV special, I'm giving it a star because it is a he said, she said moment in terms of accuracy. And although some of the family were executive producers, we have the behind the scenes and captures of the Victory Tour to compare for accuracy. Technically, it gets a star because the movie's use of costumes, effects, shot sequences, and music choices help paint the narrative in an interesting light. The acting was believable, so it gets a star. Nia Long as Katherine Jackson was a good role for her to play, and Coleman Domingo did an excellent job trying to look the part, act the part, and think the part of Joe Jackson. The action story was impactful, so I give it a star. Whether certain events are dramatized, the only people who would know are the eyewitnesses to the event in question. The star is given as a look at the narrative for what it was, which is a piece of art. Because listen, I can buy into a child's struggle to be his own man under the pressure of his father, who is the manager, even though I personally believe certain aspects of Joseph were overdone. A lot of hate was placed on this character as the antagonist due to his ass whoopings to his kids, which has been greatly used across different kinds of media through different types of reimagining. However, you need to look at Joseph from a different perspective. Joseph did have his kids rehearse long hours at night, but remember that even though the kids had to get up for school, Joseph had to get up for work at the steel mill, maybe even earlier. Joseph is with his kids rehearsing, facing the same kinds of tiredness, fatigue, and stress because he is managing, traveling, and working at his job, and his kids don't want to end up like him. Even the females of the family contributed their support by creating the costumes for the boys. This was a family business that everyone was on board for, and I believe the use and concentration of Joseph's strictness was over-exaggerated at times. Because in the end, they all achieved their dream. Shit, if you could whip my ass into a millionaire, I will spread my... Stop. Listen, they were all highly successful, and the work ethic they all have, including Michael, on many accounts can be attributed to Joseph, which was shown in the American Dream TV special. In contrast, when Michael went to the ER, Joseph in the American Dream special was heavily concerned for his son, while in the biopic, this was not even shown because he was painted to be the villain of the tale, which I believe is a byproduct of Hollywood sprinkling. But it gets a star for the narrative as a form of artistic expression through film.
All that stuff. Maybe I did it more for me than for you boys. I'm sorry about that. Michael. Believe it or not, I did it for you too.
The emotional story gets a star because, like Michael, when you are in the pursuit of something greater than where you are in life right now, there are things that occur beyond your control that can crush you emotionally. What this movie does well at is displaying Michael's perseverance in the midst of struggle, and that is what I believe ultimately they wanted to show what Michael Jackson was all about. You know it. Corny, dumb, stupid, and bad. But is it really? Some people are fans of Michael Jackson's music, and some people are not. Some people may not even know who he was or heard any of his songs. The Michael biopic is filled with mixed reviews, mostly from Rotten Tomatoes. As of now, the audience score is 97% good and the critic score is 39%. So I want to dive in deep for your understanding the difference between reviewers and critics. A reviewer is someone who shares their opinion about a movie and what they like or did not like about it. A critic is similar, but their opinions are based on education on how certain elements work together, from the screenplay, the casting, set design, locations, the full gamut of production, in order to gauge cinematic appeal as close to excellence as possible. No movie is 100% perfect. There are false reverses, unnecessary jump cuts, improper casting choices, and forgetful plot devices. You can probably tell now that I am a film critic. And if you want to gauge a critic or reviewer, then look up their background and identify their trend and how they rate a movie to gauge for biases. In other words, just look at what they rate as 5 versus what they rate as 0 stars or 1. At the end of the day, it's an opinion, but an educated opinion can only come from a critic. And there are not as many of them out there as you would think. In most cases, just look at their politics because their opinions might be linked to propaganda. The goal of a film is to make money by telling a believable narrative. This channel critiques movies and characters similar to Roger Ebert, but with my own personality at the epicenter. See? By sharing my education on filmmaking and the industry, I took my investing knowledge and created a 5-star system to make it easier for people like you to learn what makes a movie really great, like this video right here. Oh, and I'm more than just a film critic. Keep watching.